Good morning. Thank you for joining the January IGSHPA Town Hall. I'm Jeff Hammond, Executive Director at International Ground Source Heat Pump Association. And today we will be talking about some of the new training with Greg Kurtz, our Technical Director. So we're excited to have some Q&A at the very end. A lot of changes, a completely new training curriculum, in fact, for 2026. So feel free to get your questions in the chat or in the Q&A. Before we turn this over to Greg, I do have a few updates, so we'll just bring everybody up to date on the latest IGSHPA news. If you would like to present at one of these town halls or dig deepers, just go to IGSHPA.org. You'll see the training and events button, and there'll be an abstract link once you get to that page. Also, we're still accepting advertising for these webinars. Since these are recorded, it's a great way to get your logo out there. It, of course, stays online virtually forever, I guess, as long as they're on the website. So it gives you a chance to get the word out even after the webinar itself. Make sure you save the date for our annual conference. It's coming up in April. We'll be in the St. Louis area, St. Charles, Missouri. And this is going to be a really great event. It's at the Ameristar Casino. It's only about 10 minutes from the St. Louis airport. All of the information is on the website. You'll find the registration for the conference, hotel information, sponsor information, exhibitors, the whole works. The abstract submissions have closed, and we will be notifying the presenters who submitted their abstracts by the end of next week. So we'll have quite a few updates to the agenda once we notify the presenters. So we really appreciate everybody submitting those abstracts. We had quite a lot of them this year, which is always a good thing to show that interest. So thank you, presenters, for doing that. We also need to thank our conference sponsors. We certainly could not do the conference without the sponsors and the exhibitors. We try to keep our registration costs as low as possible, and that registration typically just covers food for the most part. So sponsors and exhibitors really help bring the conference to our members. So thank you, sponsors and exhibitors. We have quite a few exhibitors now. This has changed a lot since our last town hall and Dig Deeper. You can see there aren't a lot of spaces left. So if you'd like to exhibit and show off your product or service, you'll want to get that submission in here fairly quickly. We still have quite a few 10 by 10 booths. There's only one table left, and you can combine these booths to make a 10 by 20 if you like. So reach out if you'd like to exhibit. It's really quite a large exhibit hall, and there's also a stage and a break area in the exhibit hall. So I think we'll have a lot of circulation in that exhibit hall to talk to potential customers. If you're looking for an international trip this summer, our research conference is in cooperation with IEA, and it's in Vienna. That's late May that conference will take place. IGSHPA has a research track, so we're part of this IEA conference, and we expect a lot of really good research papers. If you do have new jobs that you're aware of, or you're working on some new ones, let us know. It's always great to have more information in the databases. Also, if you have additional information about licensing and CEUs in states and provinces, that's super helpful. So the more information we have on the web, the better it is for growing our industry. So reach out if you're aware of these new projects. We'd love to put them in the database and help promote the technology. You will see the next edition of Geo Outlook here very shortly, probably within the next couple of weeks, maybe even sooner than that. You can see a preview here of the cover on the right-hand side. And this one has more articles than any of the ones we've had since 2023. It's also a brand new format that we started last summer. And so I think it's a lot easier to read, and you're going to like the articles. There's still time to put in articles for the next edition. This one's already finished, and also we have ad spaces for that next edition, which will be this summer. So if you're interested in that, let us know. Like the town halls and Dig Deeper recordings, these are online. So again, your advertisements are long-lived, I guess, for lack of better words. If you'd like to get CEUs for this town hall, just make sure you put your name and your email address in the chat or the Q&A. We'll keep track of that, and you'll be able to see those on the member portal. If you happen to be watching this town hall as a recorded session, you can still get credit. You can see the webinar code here. Just simply provide that webinar code, and that way we'll know that you at least got to this slide anyway, and we'll give you credit for watching it as a recorded session. Just some housekeeping. You'll want to put your questions in chat or Q&A, and then I will read those at the end of Greg's presentation. So try to do that to keep us on track. And if we don't get to all the questions, we'll reach out to you. As I mentioned, this is recorded, so you can view it later on if you want to learn more about this particular topic. All right, some additional housekeeping. We have noticed that because of some companies' security settings, you may have to click OK on an invite so that you can use chat. We also have the Q&A enabled, and that's for those who can't use chat. If you can't use either one, raise your hand. I haven't seen that for quite some time, so I think most people are able to use chat with accepting this message or using Q&A. And this disclaimer and potential conflict of interest generally applies to those who are not IGSHPA employees. So I guess I have to paraphrase just a bit here, because Greg is an employee of IGSHPA. So this is a little bit different, but we're not advertising anything, and Greg's opinions are those of himself. But in this case, it's a little bit different situation than normal with our disclaimer and conflict of interest. So I'm not going to get into detail here. This is primarily for external presenters. All right, and with that, I'm thrilled to turn this over to Greg. Many of you know Greg. Greg Kurtz is our technical director, and he's had a lot of experience, over 40 years in the ground source heat pump industry. He's been with Water Furnace, Climate Master, Intertech, FHP Bosch, and GeoFlow. Plus, he has experience in commercial pool dehumidification equipment with PoolPack. He started out owning and operating an HVAC contracting business early in his career that installed ground source heat pumps. That's where Greg and I met, in fact, when he was a dealer and I was working for a manufacturer. Greg also serves as our staff liaison for our standards and training committees, coordinating curriculum development and IGSHPA technical resources. So I'll turn that over to you, Greg. Feel free to share your screen.
All right, Jeff, thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. Welcome to our very first town hall of 2026. It's an exciting beginning of the new year for us, and I'm really excited to share today our new training formats and programs and courses we have for credentials and professional certifications. So let's get right into it. And the title of this presentation is really what's happening with the IGSHPA's Accredited Installer course. Since we are making changes with new courses, we're going to try to explain that for everybody today here. So I'm sure you're going to find a lot of good, helpful information as we go through this morning. So we're really not taking anything away, but we're giving you even more options than you've had before, and I think everybody's going to like what we've got. So as we get started, just a little background, we really have a strong foundation at IGSHPA here. There's a little history for everybody if you're new to the industry, joining and learning about us and the industry. In 1974, Oklahoma State Research started some research on ground source heat pumps, and in 1987 they founded IGSHPA, and it was part of Oklahoma State University. And then in 1988, the first ground source heat pump installation manual was published by Oklahoma State University, IGSHPA, and the National Rural Electric Cooperative Association. And that was followed by an installer workshop, which really became the Accredited Installer training as we knew it. So that's a little background on it. And then in September of 2020, IGSHPA became an independent nonprofit. So as the industry and the memberships in the association was growing, we wanted to do other things. And there were some limitations to what the university could do with us as an association and organization. So they relinquished ownership rights to it and let it form an independent nonprofit. So that's kind of when we got started as an independent nonprofit organization, separate from Oklahoma State. We still do relationships and work with them, but we're totally independent now and gives us much more the ability to make changes. So let's talk about the new training that we've been developing since I've been here, me and a couple other employees. We started in the fall of 2023 to update our training programs because they're really getting to the point where we needed to upgrade to a more modern training, and there's a lot of industry changes that have came out. So in the fall of 23, we got some funding from IGSHPA member groups, which allowed IGSHPA to really have some extra funds to hire employees to focus on workforce development and training. And so we contracted with the CSA group for a new accredited training program and certification, which was just completed at the end of 2025. So in this past December here, just a few weeks ago, we completed that, and we have got a lot of new product developed for training and technical courses. And we're able to hire a marketing firm for social media and video content to help us with the marketing efforts of our industry and for what we're doing as an association, and really help us work on the industry tools for enabling industry growth for the ground source industry. So I think you're going to be really excited as you learn more about this as we go through our presentation today, and as you hear new things coming as we go along this year. So the funding that we got was through the end of 2025, and in 2026, which is today, where we are now in January, we're really at a good turning point for IGSHPA because we've got the development done, the new courses ready to go, and some have been rolled out already, and some are just starting this month. So we're building on the momentum that this funding created from 2023 to 2025. So those 2 years we've really put the rubber to the road, and we have really worked diligently to come up with some new training, new certification programs, and providing introduction to new member services for our industry and helping growth happen. So I think you're going to really be enlightened if you haven't seen some of our stuff yet already as we go through this today. A little more background on the older accredited installer course that we have. That initial workshop was based on the 1988 manual for closed loop ground source heat pump systems that IGSHPA published. And then it was updated in 2009, and that became the blue and white colored book what you see on the image here on the right. And that has really led the industry, those two books, for the last 40 years. And when the original course was developed, the industry was much different. And today it's a new industry from what it was 40 years ago. Back then, people were unfamiliar with ground source heat pump design and installation, and they needed a really broad approach from a training workshop and course to help people really grasp everything involved with doing ground source heat pumps. So that's what that original course did, and it was an in-person training. It was typically the normal way it was passed on to the students. So that's a little background on it, and it's continued to evolve since then as we have moved into the newer age here, 40 years after the fact, which is requiring us to make some more changes. And so you might kind of wonder why we've done that. It's because we've needed to improve as we move forward with the way things are done. There's been a lot of new technology developed, new ways to put in ground loops and tools and knowledge about the systems and so forth. So as we move forward, we needed to upgrade things. And so IGSHPA has really been designing a wide course audience before with the old course, the Accredited Installer, and that course For example, you would talk about grouting as well as ductwork on the same course. So those are two different topics, but yet that's the kind of things we had to do to help grow the industry and get it started. But as we have evolved since 40 years ago when IGSHPA first started that training, things have changed a lot, and now we really need job-specific training. So we're going to talk more about that in the coming slides. The course was 3 days before the accredited installer was, and it really needs to be in smaller bites so that it's a little more accessible and easier to digest and easier to get. And so that was one of the things that was impairing it to be more modernized. We needed it to be less cost and have shorter course options. And we really need an option to where people could do maybe even self-paced online options where they wouldn't have to travel today to do a training course to gain knowledge and certification. We also had a need at the time for a binational certification, both in Canada and the United States. And so that was an impact to it. And that need really needed to be based on the C448 standard, which I think first came out around 2013. IGSHPA started to transition from the IGSHPA standards, which were developed earlier for the installation design of ground source heat pump systems. They started working with the C448 group to develop the C448 standard for them. And that has evolved twice since, I think, 2013. So there was an update in 2016, and now just last year we had an update in 2025 in May. So a lot of things have changed, and this course is, kind of needing to change with it. There were a lot of different job descriptions that were published back in July 31st of 2013 through the U.S. DOE funded study and report entitled The National Certification Standard for the Geothermal Heat Pump Industry. And this report, which IGSHPA was involved with and helped do with some other organizations, it identified 14 different various local professional trade skills and jobs, which are shown here, which are typically required to design, install, inspect, commission, operate, maintain, and provide technical training for ground source heat pump systems. And they're also known as geothermal systems. In addition, and including, the other trades are like plumbers, electricians, heating, air conditioning, contractor specialists, engineers, and architects. So you can see the DOE report. This is the summary shot of the different job descriptions. There are 14 different jobs that are involved in the installation and sale of a ground source heat pump system. So there are a lot of local jobs created through the sale and design and installation of a geothermal ground source heat pump system. And this report confirmed that, and they established some real needs in the marketplace because of that, to how to overcome barriers to grow the industry. And so through that, they wanted some additional standards. So the C448 and the IGSHPA standards kind of evolved with that. And as I mentioned, the 2025 edition came out in May for the C448. And this is now the basis for all IGSHPA training. It really wasn't incorporated, the standards, much into any of the earlier trainings that IGSHPA had. And that was a lacking problem that we needed to address, so that as people are understanding the technology and their different job roles, they were doing things that would be in harmony with the new design standards that should be utilized, so that no matter where we go, everybody's talking the same language and understand the same things that should be done. There have been a lot of updates, many of them. I think 40 or so plus new pages since the last previous earlier edition. So today, this is nearly 250 pages of standards, and it's consolidated a lot of redundant clauses that may be found in the earlier versions. And so this is really an important milestone for our industry, as well as what we're doing with the new training, is this new standard that's been just updated just last summer to include that. So we are now in harmony with the standards with our new training programs. And if you don't have a copy of this, you're going to want to do that. It's very important, I think, that any company that's involved with ground source heat pumps have this as a reference guide and a tool to use. It's available through IGSHPA if you're an IGSHPA member through a discount. And it's just kind of the thing that you should have. And I want everybody to know today that we have merged this knowledge in with our training concept courses so that it's in harmony. So what's new in the new standard that came out? There are a lot of things, including a new section on district systems, which are sometimes referred to as thermal energy networks. And a lot of states are talking about district systems today. There's a new section in the standard about energy foundations and how we can recapture waste heat energy on the wastewater leaving the system, the building. There's that annex there. And also energy foundations for pilings for large skyscraper type buildings. A lot of times we can put ground loops in those. There's technology available now to do that, and the standard's incorporating that. There's a new polyethylene RT type piping material been added, which is available to be used in the industry, as well as new glycerin-based and detoxified ethylene glycol, which is added to the standard as now an acceptable heat transfer fluid. We have removed the PVC piping materials as an acceptable piping material for the inside piping. So we really don't want to promote the use on ground source applications, the PVC anymore, and that's been removed from the standard. So a lot of things, have changed as we've learned more things about the industry. And so these are what's incorporated in this new standard, and you're going to want to get familiar with that. So the next question is, now that we know about the new standards, what's going to happen to the current accredited installer certifications or people that have taken the AI class and got that certification? Well, those can be renewed indefinitely if you desire. If you keep your CEUs submitted and your certification does not lapse and you don't let it run out, you're certainly going to be able to keep that, and we are going to recognize it as we move forward. But any new individuals wanting to get training in the industry and get some certification, they're going to be required to take one of the new courses that we offer. So we're going to talk about that here as we move forward. So there's going to be some pathways to the new certification and certificate programs. We have training updates for this to make it possible with a new exam. You may have to take a new exam to transition over to get a newer certification if you would desire to do that. You're definitely going to need to understand a lot about the C448 standards based on the 2025 edition, because we've incorporated that into a lot of our technical training courses. And it's really important to understand those new changes to go along with that. And we're going to talk about some more things as we get to the next slide. So to help everybody understand the new IGSHPA training offerings that are available today, this image is also located on our website menu under the training listing option. So if you'll look at the top of the training and certification page on our homepage, you can click on that. That'll take you to our training page. And then as you look down to the top part of that page on our website, for the training, you'll see a button that says compare new curriculum to legacy courses. And it's located kind of towards that top. And it's the first dark green radio button that you could click on. And as you can see in the slide here, this image that we're showing, that's going to pop up on our website under the training course area. You use that radio button. And it's going to help you explain and have a pictorial of the old legacy courses like the Accredited Installer, Certified Residential Designer, the Certified Geo-Exchange Designer, the Certified Geothermal Inspector. Those 4 courses are all at the top of this dotted box. And those are our legacy courses. And those are being sunsetted now as of January 1st, and we're not doing new training for those credentials. We're moving to the new IGSHPA training and the new CSA group courses that we have been working on and developing. So on this image, you'll see these job-specific training courses, which we have developed, and there are subsets that composed the earlier Accredited Installer course for starters. So we look at that accredited installer box, and that gray tan colored box. There are 4 arrows pointing down below to the new courses. And we've basically broken that up into 4 new training courses because it was everything for everybody. And now we've made it more specific for each job task. So there's the GSHP residential installation tech training. There's a residential light commercial GHX installer. That's for the ground loop piping, outdoor piping. And then we have the GSHP residential service technician training, as well as the GSHP residential design workshop. So those 4 new courses are basically the kind of content that was in the accredited installer, which was a 3-day course before. And now we have broken it up into 4 new courses, and they're a lot more in depth of knowledge and job specific. So I think it's going to be really beneficial, useful information to know because they're in now a modular approach, which will help you focus on job specific training that you need to get the certifications and qualifications that might be required. And the DOE report really was a good backdrop for us to use to help decide how to move forward with revising our training programs to meet these different job descriptions that are out there that really need some more detailed specific training. And so these are really the basis for IGSHPA's new training workforce development and upskilling programs that we're offering to help everybody get up to speed with just what they need, not the other things that may not involve them in their job role. So, for example, a ground loop installer wouldn't necessarily want to know about sizing the heat pump to the building. So they wouldn't want to take the design side of things necessarily for the building to figure out what they got to do to pipe the ground loop up. So we've separated this out to make it more specific, and I think it's going to be very beneficial for everybody involved. So as you can see, as we move on down, there's some other courses that we'll talk about as we move forward. But this picture, I think, is really helpful, and it's on our website. So after the web today, the town hall, if you wanted to reference it again, we have it on our website. So let's move forward with talking a little more about the accredited installer and what it becomes. It's now 4 courses, as I showed you in the earlier image. So we have the ground source heat pump residential design workshop, which is now a 2-day instructor-led workshop. You can do that in person or through a virtual training. There are some online self-paced courses that are required as prerequisites. If you need them, you can pick and choose on those self-paced courses that go along as prerequisites. If you are already an expert in some of the topics and you feel you don't need that, you could pick and choose. But if you would like, you can take all the prerequisites in advance of attending the instructor workshop, and we'll talk a little more detail about that. But this particular course is going to get you the opportunity to take the CSA IGSHPA certification exam, and you can challenge that after you've gone through the course and the course materials. So that's really a 2-day course for a designer. So let's just help them out. Then we have broken it apart for the installers. The next course below is the GSHP residential installation technician. And this is a 1-day instructor-led workshop. It'll be in person or virtual. You should have some HVAC experience or a degree in HVAC as a prerequisite. So this course is not for somebody that's brand new to the heating and air conditioning trades. Should probably already have some basic knowledge of general conventional heating and cooling systems and installation related to that equipment before attending this class. But this class is going to get you the chance to take the IGSHPA certification exam for that class and get that credential. So there's 2 of the 4 courses that are now subsets of the old accredited installer course. My next slide, continuing on, we'll have a course also for the GSHP residential service technician. This is a 1-day instructor-led workshop. You'll be able to do it in person or at a virtual training. Again, you need some HVAC experience or a degree as a prerequisite. But again, you can finish that course in a day and take the exam to get the credentials for that. So that's just for the service technicians. And then we've got our fourth of the classes available as the residential light commercial GHX installer. So GHX is an acronym for ground heat exchanger. And this is a 2-day instructor-led workshop. It'll be available in person or virtually. There are 5 online self-paced courses, which would be prerequisites that should be completed before attending the workshop, because there's a lot of information in this course in 2 days. So really, to get the benefit of the whole knowledge, you really need to have some background and the prerequisites before you attend the class. But it's going to be a great class. I think a lot of people that do ground loops and want to know just about that portion are going to find this very beneficial. You'll have a IGSHPA GHX installer exam and certificate available once you complete that course. So these are the 4 new courses that will replace the older sunsetted accredited installer course. So I'm going to give you a little more details on these courses, like the residential designer. So this is a new course that is just for the designers. It's been revised from the old CRD course that we had. And this one here has some prerequisites. There are 7 modules that are available to take online. They're optionally before you go to the instructor-led training part of it. But this is going to be very beneficial for those that are just doing design work. And then after you get through the instructor workshop, there are 2 additional modules, 8 and 9, that will be available for further learning after the course that you could take before challenging the final exam after all the knowledge has been taken. So this is the new layout for the residential designer. We have this one ready, and it's a CSA accredited training class. For the GHX installer course, there are 5 online modules, like I mentioned earlier, that are prerequisites before attending the 2-day of intensive training. And it really is a lot. There are, I think, 12 different training modules in the instructor-led course, and that was going to make the course too long. So we decided we should do some of these as prerequisites, because some of them are kind of generic enough. It doesn't take an instructor to teach you that. So you could take them as online modules before attending the class, and it'll keep the class from being such a long time requirement to be in front of an instructor. So we got it down to a 2-day in-person class or in front of an instructor with some prerequisites. So there are 5 modules that are available, then the training with the instructor for 2 days, and then there is a final exam that you can take afterwards. So you're thinking of probably is the whole picture, is it's a lot of training that we have. And you might be thinking, geez, that could be 6 days of training. No, not really. If you break this down by courses and job task specifics, the HVAC company designer, somebody who designs systems in your company, they might only need to just take the designer workshop class. And then the service manager and technicians would probably just take the service technician course. And then the HVAC installer manager and installation technicians could just take the installation tech course. And then if you have drilling contractors, or if you do it in-house yourself as a contractor, want to know about the ground loop portion and how to install those, that would be the GHX installer class. So it's optional for the contractor doing the HVAC side in the building, but certainly anybody involved with outdoor ground loops would want to take this class just for what they do, that work portion. So versus a 3-day broader topic course, which the accredited installer was based on, that was not nearly as in-depth for the jobs and the details of knowledge needed that we have today. I think this breaks it down, makes it a lot more manageable for each department, maybe in your company or in your organization, so that you can get just the training that you need without the other portions that aren't relevant to maybe your job. So What about the state provinces that require the accredited installer currently or have language in their books that require that? We just came out with a IGSHPA white paper. It's on our website at IGSHPA.org. And there's a news section on the homepage where you can find this. And it is a guidance for utilities, states, and provinces to allow both legacy and new programs to be explained and how we're transitioning. And there's the flowchart image that I showed you in a few slides back is on there to help everybody understand the old courses from the new courses. We've been working with a lot of the states already that we know of that have language requiring the AI training, such as New York and some others that required that training for the utility incentives. And they're already aware of the new courses, and we are moving forward to new language for the new 2026 programs that I know in New York, at least, that they're doing to roll out the new training. They're going to, I think, end up using anybody that has the AI credential. They'll honor that. But then if new people in your companies need training, you can take the new training. Those folks can take the new training to their job specifics. And I think we're going to work right through this without a problem. So we've got a white paper to maybe help us explain that to anybody with questions. So you could find that on our website. Sorry, I clicked ahead. So again, why you may be asked, why can't it still be taught? Well, there were lots of conflicts with the new 2025 edition of the C448 standard. It's not really job specific. It was really too broad of a training course. And the way things have moved today with the industry, job specific training really is needed for workforce development to get them quickly up and running so that we can get these jobs installed and have a larger workforce. And we had to break it down to bite-sized pieces for each part of the job trade with more details that are relevant to today's times. So we can bring in these new people to the industry to help grow the industry. The format really was not designed for modern learning. It was, we have a combination today of online or instructor-led modules, which wasn't available before. It was a 3-day in-person class. So that was a challenge. The new modules and certifications and certificates provide better visibility and open training to new audiences. The self-paced online modules are relatively inexpensive and can be used independent of the instructor-led courses for any individual who wants to learn about ground source heat pumps. They may not need certification or any kind of certificates. They just would like to know additional knowledge about a particular topic. So with the way we've broken this apart with some of these self-paced online modules, anybody really could just go take that portion and get that information they're looking for. So what about the residential legacy design course and certifications, such as the CRD course, which is with the old certified residential geothermal designer? That was sunsetted in January this year, and it's available now as the new geothermal designer workshop is the new replacement. The CRD class, for those of you that had that, could be renewed indefinitely through IGSHPA as long as you keep the requirements up to hold that certification. You could update if you'd like and go to the new GRSD, the Residential System Designer certification, by just taking the exam. If you're current with your CRD credentials and requirements today. So there's a way to transition from the old courses to get the new credentials and the new course material if you'd like to do that. So we're making some bridges and pathways to help you do that and get the upgrades if you desire. So on the commercial side of things, the CGD, the Certified Geo Exchange Designer, that was sunsetted also. And now we have the Commercial Geothermal Designer workshop is now the replacement. We've done this course several times already. The first course was done in September of 2025, and we did another course in October of 2025, and we're going to be doing the first, we're doing the virtual class in January 15th in 2026. So that's already been taught two times, and will be a third time starting tomorrow. The CGD certification could be renewed indefinitely through the AEE group. Those are the folks who did the accreditation for that certification. If you desire, just maintain that is really all you have to do. But if you'd like to update to the new GCSD course and certifications, it'd be just a matter of really taking the exam if you're current on your CGD credentials. So we got some little more details on this coming up in the next slide. And by the way, there's a 25% discount for IGSHPA members if you have a, like the CGD certification or the CRD certification, and you want to transition. I forgot to mention that asterisk bullet there. But on the commercial designer, there's self-assessment tools that will help you determine which online modules, if any of them, are going to be required before you attend the workshop. So I'd encourage you, if you're looking to make a transition or do this course, definitely you want to look at the self-assessment tool before you sign up and take the full class. It's going to let you know which of these modules are probably knowledge bases you need to get some more knowledge on. If you're doing good at it, then you could skip some of them possibly and just move to the workshop. But additional optional modules could be available for further learning to help you transition if you need. And it's a CSA IGSHPA online certification exam to get the final exam and to get the credentials and pass that. So it's going to be challenging, but certainly doable, and you can make a transition if you have the old to the new. And we have the assessments to help you understand maybe what you're weak in, what you need to update yourself on. So what about the inspector course? IGSHPA had the CGI Certified Geothermal Inspector course. That was also sunsetted in 2025, and now we have the IGSHPA System Verification and Inspection, and that's the replacement. And this is a fully online, self-paced course. There were 4 modules that you would take. It's going to be about 1 day probably to get through the whole course material. But then you can take the challenge of the test and the online test afterwards. And if you're a CGI certification holder, you could renew that indefinitely if you'd like to, or you can upgrade to the new GSVI course certification and credential if you're current through the final exam. So again, there's discounts for members if you have the CGI certification already and would like to make that transition. So this is another slide. It's kind of maybe a little better picture to show you how to do the upgrades and get new certifications if you'd like. I think I'm kind of running close on time here, but at any rate, this chart is also available on our website. So if you want to come back to it to get a little more clarification, you certainly could do that. But we've made a nice chart that kind of maps out each of these courses and the old course and what you're eligible to do today to get to the new credentials and so forth. So all of the new training is based on the CSA C448 standards for commercial and residential ground source heat pump applications. And it is highly recommended that you purchase that standard and become familiar with it before starting any of the new exams. If you're an IGSHPA member, you can purchase that licensed PDF at a substantial discount on the IGSHPA standards page at IGSHPA.org. So this kind of maps out and shows you if you had older legacy course credentials, what you're eligible to do today and what you're going to take to do that and some of the cost. So that chart I think will be very helpful for you. And it's also on our website. So why do we partner with CSA? The Canadian Standards Association is really an international SDO, which is a standards development organization. And they work and have worked with IGSHPA and ANSI on the binational Canadian and US design and installation standard for both commercial and residential ground source heat pump systems, which we reference as the C448. And it develops an ANSI accredited curriculum. So they developed a curriculum that really matches the ANSI process, which is really key and important. It's been properly vetted through industry folks. They have binational certification programs which are guided by an ISO EC 17024 standard, which really is a global benchmark for personnel certification programs. So they have just really been on top of proper training and so forth that's recognized globally. They have decades of experience with HVAC training programs and certification, as well as other industries. They have offices throughout the world in Canada, the US, Europe, Asia, India, and we already have had contracts with IGSHPA and them. So we had the good relationship there, and it just made sense to work with them. We've had a great relationship working with the CSA group. So that's really why we partnered with them. There are some other new IGSHPA courses, which I want to make sure you're aware of if you aren't. So one of them particularly is the Selecting a Ground Source Heat Pump Team. And this is really focused on commercial and industrial type projects, but the principles that are in this course are even kind of applicable to residential in many ways. So it's a self-paced online course, or it could be a virtually led instructor course. And the topics that are in this are talking about requests for information, requests for proposals, requests for qualifications, and project information. So it's going to talk about how to do those documents and get good information out to get good team members together and get a good bid and a good project laid out. So I really recommend this. It'll help you with selecting mechanical engineers, primarily ground source heat pump site planning. So preliminary ground source heat exchanger site planning. So if you're going to put a ground loop in and do geothermal, you need to know about that site planning requirements. So this course, if you're maybe just a building owner and didn't know anything about it, what it's going to take, this course would be a really good course to understand what you don't understand as you start to endeavor putting together a request for pricing and proposals and installation of a system on a building. Talks about how the equipment is sized, conductivity testing, how to coordinate the installation, and how to do contract administration and oversee that, as well as how to incorporate quality assurance in the whole process so that when everybody's doing their part for the job, you get a really good result with the ground source heat pump installation. So I want to definitely highlight that. A lot of people may not have heard of that, but if you have people that are interested in geothermal in a building, whether it's commercial or industrial, or I think it'll even apply to some residential, this course would really, I think, be a good content takeaway for them to do, and they can do it online. We also have Geo 101 for electric utilities. That's a course that we've completed and we've done a couple times. And so we are trying to educate the electric utilities still about ground source heat pumps and get them to do programs to encourage it. We have that. We're working on a service technician for trade school curriculum to get that out to trade schools and make it more applicable for younger adults coming maybe out of high school or going into the trades and trade schools and colleges. We're working on the courses for them to help grow that industry, as well as installation technician for the trade schools and driller training. We're working with the Geothermal Drillers Association, the National Groundwater Association, Fleming College, labor unions, and some other stakeholders, and developing maybe some driller training for operating those pieces of equipment to do ground source heat exchangers and geothermal heat exchangers. So we've got a lot of new courses that are out and new ones yet coming. So as you can see, we put a lot of effort, money, and resources into providing better courses for specific topics, providing more accessible workforce development and upskilling learning pathways for certificates and professional credentials. So, 17 new accredited courses, 14 online self-paced modules, 2 instructor-led, and 1 online course. We've got 3 new certification programs, 3 new certificate courses, 2 new informational courses, and 2 troubleshooting videos. So it's like 20 courses and 3 certification programs we have put together in the last 2 years. And we're really excited to introduce you all to the new modern technical learning pathways that we have brought out. They're designed to eliminate barriers and empower you to grow and expand your ground source marketplace. So I hope you're as excited as we are about these new trainings. We have a lot of resources to help you further digest this information, certainly at the IGSHPA.org website. If you'll click on that training menu, there's links for training catalog and pricing, course descriptions. Then there are also links to the CSA and the IGSHPA pages for registering for the courses and so forth. So, there's just a lot of information there. You could contact us at IGSHPA through the info@igshpa.org, or you could call us at 217-212-2112. And I certainly want to recommend again and stress the C448 standard. It's going to be really challenging to take final exams on our new courses if you don't have good knowledge of the newest C448 standard. And you can get that at a discount if you're an IGSHPA member. So make sure you would have that before you tackle some of these courses. I think it's going to be very beneficial to you and what you're endeavoring to come back with. So, Jeff, I think we're getting close to the end. Any questions that we got in there?
We do have some questions, Greg. Thank you for that thorough presentation. I hope that helps people understand what's happening with the Accredited Installer and why we're moving forward. We'll start with Carl's question here. He laments that most of the courses are closed loop courses, and with the federal incentives going away, he thinks that we need to talk more about, groundwater systems. So he's asking if the new courses have groundwater. I'll let you take that one, Greg, because you spent a lot of time on that particular portion.
Oh, great question, Carl. Yes, we actually in the ground heat exchanger installer course do talk about groundwater systems. I have one lesson that's about 50 slides, and it's got a lot of new content that we've not at IGSHPA seen anybody teach or present. So it's included in the ground heat exchanger training. By the name ground heat exchanger, I think most people are going to think always just closed loop, but we do, because it's a type of heat exchange in the ground. Talk about open loop groundwater systems and surface water systems. So there's some information in there. We have a module in the new training for groundwater, so it's not been left out. It's in that course. So that's a great question.
Yep, and includes standing column as well.
Oh yeah, right. You're right. Yep. Thanks, Jeff.
So Anna has a question here. She's asking if the core modules are the same between commercial and residential streams. She's talking about the designer workshops. And do you want to take that one, Greg?
I can. There are some of the modules that are the same, and there are some that are slightly different, because on certain topics, the residential perspective would be a little different from commercial. So there are some, when you get into the modules on the website and you're looking at the links to get the description and details, I think you'll see some of those differentiations through the descriptions there. If you don't, you have questions, just send us an email, send me an email, reach out to me, and I'd be glad to try to help you on that.
I think they kind of look the same. They both are 7 prerequisites, but seems to me water quality is the same for both, and I think the introduction may be the same for both. And then there are some differences, especially with flushing and things like that. That's quite a bit different from residential and commercial. So good question on that. Yeah, I don't see any other questions at this point. We have about 5 more minutes, so good timing on the presentation, Greg. And as Greg mentioned, we're always available. If you have any additional questions, check out the website, get in touch with us. One thing I would like to mention is on the training calendar, we'll have the courses that are publicly available. But we do have the option for private courses. And what I mean by that is if you have a state or provincial association that wants to do training, and maybe you're working with the utility, there is the option to look at things a little bit differently with those private courses. So for example, maybe you have a utility who's sponsoring training. They might pay for the venue and the food, possibly, maybe even for the trainer. That can affect the price per student. So that's an option as well. We've seen that in a couple situations, Minnesota, Manitoba, I think New York. So keep that in mind. There might be an opportunity there to partner with other organizations, with utilities and so forth, and that helps with the cost of the training. So any last minute thoughts, Greg?
I do. I wanted to mention, I would really hope that a lot of our state associations, I know there's multiple states that have ground source heat pump associations, and I'd like to challenge a lot of the state associations to take a look at our training courses. Maybe your directors and so forth, related staff, and even maybe your board members take a look at our courses and do one or two of them at least to give it a try, because I think you would really be more understanding of the changes that are so significant in our new course material and the way they're presented and the content and the importance of the new standard information that's been dovetailed into the training courses so that we really get better jobs and better quality systems in design and installation or service. So I just throw that out there, I guess, for those folks to take a look at that and maybe consider doing the courses. Work with Jeff and I, and we'll be glad to chat further about maybe what we can do to help you with that.
Thank you, Greg. Yeah, let's challenge our provincial associations as well. I think we're
Oh, I'm
seeing
sorry. Yes,
a
don't
push,
forget the North.
and some of those as well to move forward. So great. Well, thank you everyone for your time. This will be recorded and online in the next few days. So if you want to review any of these slides and take a look at it again, certainly be available. So thanks again. Appreciate everybody's time today, and let us know if we can be of any help. Take care.
Thank you very much.